My Dog Size. We spoke, probably about more or less this time last year, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, yeah.
And this latest installation exhibition, a long time coming, really. But I mean, you must be pretty excited to get it underway.
It's a crazy one. It's been, when I spoke to you, it was like, I can't say anything too much about it. So I was going, and it's been like that for such a long time that actually the possibility that I have to, I can release this to the public was quite scary. It was exciting because I've been busying on, but as soon as you press that button and you say that you're doing it and it's actually happening, and then announcing the locations and things, all of a sudden it gets really, really real. And yeah, you've got to make sure that you're ready now. So we are, it's frantic. We're going to be ready, but there's still lots to do.
And I thought there was a bit of a delicious irony, really, because, kind of more, no matter where you are in the world, all of us have spent an awful lot of time indoors, and now you're getting people to come inside again.
And I'm sure, subliminally, the idea that we have been locked away, we have been inside, has kind of influenced the mood of the show. It's influenced the way the show has worked. I mean, the plan to produce a big inside abandoned building exhibition happened way before COVID and lockdown came along. But it's affected us all in various ways, isn't it? And I would be foolish to think that it hasn't had some sort of impact on what I'm doing. But yeah, there is a kind of irony that we're starting to make our way out and outside to see the street art, and actually now what I'm doing is encouraging people to go inside. Yeah,
looks fantastic though, and in a kind of an abandoned casino as well. Then.
Oh man, it's the most incredible place. I've lived in Portsmouth for 25 years. I painted the outside of the building, but I'd never really considered the fact that there was something inside. The building owner has been incredible and basically gave me the keys and just said, have a look around, see if it was any good. It's a 3,000 square metre building, so it's vast. It's over 4 floors. It's got couple of nightclubs, bars, restaurants, a casino, and a ballroom. Now I've been only able to take over a small section of that because it's just huge, and there's been massive implications on. It's basically a derelict building, so it hadn't the bits that we're using haven't been open for 40 years, so it was pretty run down, and we've had to make sure the building is safe. So I've learned a whole bunch of health and safety things and COVID things, and how fire regulations and fire escapes. I've had to evict 300 pigeons. I've had to I've learned an awful lot beyond outside the realms of actually making artwork for stuff. So it's been a real journey, a really kind of up and down journey. We got Arts Council funding in place at the beginning, and then when COVID hit, they pulled the funding, and so I got a fantastic fan base. So I was able to do the crowdfunder, which was really great. And other than that, sort of dig deep, and you get so far into something, and the ball starts rolling, like the snowball starts rolling, and then you realise that there's no getting off. You just got to ride it until you get to the very end. So it's been fun.
Does that ever, the crowdfunding aspect, because does it ever not surprise you that, because I see whenever you do a crowdfunding thing or if you issue a print release or anything, it just flies every single time. Does that ever not catch you by surprise that?
No, I suffer from imposter syndrome just massively. Never. I always think, I got lucky that time. Something happened that made me get lucky, and that the print sale sold out. And so there is never an expectation it's going to. And when it does, it blows me away. And actually, for this crowdfunder, I didn't even tell anybody what I was doing. I just said, I'm doing something cool. Can you help me out? Okay, everybody got something from it. It wasn't a, crowdfund and not get anything back. So they were all rewards based. It was an alternate shop, I suppose, in a way of raising funds to help fund the project. But yeah, it blows me away every time, and I've been doing it for a little while now. I've been in the game for a little while, and I don't know. I feel very, very honoured and blessed that people do want to support and do want to pick up work. So, long may that continue.
And in terms of the process, I mean, you talk about building regulations, health and safety. This is essential, if probably a bit of a headache. But what have you learned from the process when it comes to, you've been exploring sculpture, that side of your work?
It's been a really interesting learning curve. I can work on the flat, as a painter and really understand my characters and my paintings and how that works. But ask me to walk around behind it, and how does the head fit to the neck? How does the body stand? How all of these things have just been a really, really interesting sort of learning experience, and it's been tough, and there are still, there's still a huge journey to go through to learn. But it's definitely kind of whet my appetite to think about, right, okay, I've done this, what's next? How can I take and develop what I'm doing even further, and working in the space is fantastic for a control freak, because, I've had the opportunity now to, not just control what you look at, but where you go and how you look at it, and how you light it, how you create sound for it. So working with some people to, give each of these characters voices. So as you're walking around, they're going to be whispering and talking and writing scripts for them and things. So, the fact that originally it was supposed to be a 5-month project, it's now extended to 18 months, meant that I've really had a nice chance to sort of fall down some rabbit holes, really, just explore in depth something that I'd never considered before. I had this spot and I wanted to do something with it. And wouldn't it be nice if it's something was woven and so, I did a willow weaving workship, and, it's the most un-street art thing to do. And I was surrounded by all these people, making baskets and doing crazy stuff like that. But actually, to pick up that new skill and find a way that you can absorb it into your own practice it's been really, really, challenging, but really exciting to learn something. And I think as an artist, I don't want to sit still. I don't want to get comfortable and just, churn out more of the same. I want to push myself and, what I can do, so that the end result is that you walk in and, you kind of look around and you're blown away by the unexpected, the little tiny details and the crazy aspects in that way.
And without giving too much away, it sounds like you sort of want people to go on a journey of sorts through the experience. Is it the case that you will pick up information or clues or messages as you go through, and then I don't want to.
Well, no, I was, like I said, I was given the keys to a building where every window had been smashed and boarded up. There was no power, so there's no light, there's no power. There's about 5 staircases leading in all different directions to a whole. It's like a massive department store. It's really huge, but it was pitch black. And I found a hole in the wall, and I poked my torch through the hole and found a staircase. And it was like, right, okay, let's climb through this hole in the wall and walk up the staircase and see what I can find. And it was, it's the urban exploration thing. I'm not an urban person, but I'm fascinated by what they see. But for me, that was a really exciting, turning the corner with my torch and pigeons are flying out at me and all these kind of crazy things are happening. And then I eventually walk into the top floor and into the ballroom upstairs, and it's just like, holy shit, this space is just the most amazing space. And so what I wanted to do is to give people a similar experience. Now, I can't turn the lights off and give people torches because COVID and health and safety and all these bits and pieces. So it's a kind of controlled. So you walk into the building, there are no clues as to what you're going to see. You have to make your way through the building, up the staircase with no clues as to what's going on. You'll hit one point, and I think that's where I'm going to be standing when everyone comes in. Because at that one point you turn a corner and then all of a sudden the magic happens. All of a sudden you realize you're stepping out of the world that you know and you're stepping inside of something that's you maybe aren't expecting to see from the guy that paints eyes or every man or cans or whatever. But I think, you know, the clues come from the fact that there are so many aspects to the room, to the things that you can see, views that you've got into other rooms, and on various scales. So some things you're going to have to look right up at, some things are really, really tiny and you're going to miss. And the hope is that people will leave the exhibition at the end, they'll go to the pub and then they'll go, did you see that little really weird room that had this so-and-so in it and this was going on? And someone else is going to go, no, I went through a different part of the maze and I didn't see that. And so you've got that kind of, oh my God, there was so much to see. You know, I need to go back in. I need to try and explore things. I just want every single square inch of space to be fascinating, to be a discovery. And the building does a lot of that work for me. I mean, just the building in itself with the peeling paint and the broken glass and the mirrors reflecting light just make it a really, really exciting place. And I want to kind of blur the lines between what was there in the building and then what I've included, so that you're not quite sure, you know, did my dog do that or did time do that? You know, where do those boundaries cross?
I love that. And I love the idea of having, you know, this old kind of bashed up building, but when people go in there, they're going to get a sense of newness and sort of otherness, really, that they would.
Yeah, definitely otherness. Yeah, absolutely. You know, the quiet little voices are very much embedded in that space. So if the space is grimy and derelict, then these creatures, you know, that's their home. That's their, you know, squat, I suppose. You know, they've taken over a space that hasn't had a use for 40 years. And they've turned it into a community, and they represent different aspects of the human condition. So, you know, there's love and there's loss and there's depression and there's joking and there's creativity going on. And so it's almost like you're stepping into their world, and then they've just frozen still. You know, fear, panic, these strange human creatures have walked into our space, but then you start to hear them talking and whispering and start to sort of see things, start to discover how they live and how they exist. So for me to move, you know, I've had eyes and cans and every man and all these different aspects, and I've had the quiet little voices, but very much on the back burner. They've not been that kind of the thing I suppose I'm probably known for. So to be able to take them as, you know, fag packet sketches and doodles into something that completely, you know, is overarching the whole concept of My Dog's Eyes. That's my biggest buzz, you know, just to take something that is insignificant and turn it into a major part of what I do.
In a way, kind of bringing everything together like that, does it feel a bit like it's almost like your life's work has just sort of culminated to this point in a way?
Well, I think every show is that. I think every show is a kind of build up of where you've been from your creativity and where you happen to be at the time, a punctuation mark in your creative journey. And, you know, as street artists, we kind of have these real strong identifiers, right? You can look at one piece of work and you know it is a snip, you know it's a toaster, or you know it's, you know, Ben Iron or whatever. And as artists, we hold on to that, and that becomes our identity, and we travel through. So I'm not going to sort of drop off and suddenly you're going to walk into a show and not see anything that you recognize as my dog. You know, I'm not David Bowie, I'm not brave enough to do that massive shift. But I think by twisting it slightly and twisting what you think you know My Dog's Eyes is, makes the opportunity for me to keep those branded things, keep those things, that identity of mine, but just make it slightly more, you know, unusual and exciting and different and kind of refreshed, I suppose.
One of the things I loved that I saw you did was putting these Easter eggs in the local paper there. Yeah. Such great fun.
It's the whole project has given me time to do things like that. So the letters of the title of the project are inside, and I've created a new font for that. And way back in between Christmas and New Year, I hit the city really, really hard with just these single letters, some upside down, some sideways, and they look kind of runic, and they could be numbers, and you know, everyone was just like, because they didn't know it was me. There's nothing very My Dog like, and they were like, you got any idea what this is? Is that an arrow turning left? Is it, and for months and months, I thought we were opening in March. So I thought I'd drop them in January. We're open in March, a couple of months, and that'll be good to go. Of course, we then everything got pushed forwards again. So we're not opening until July. So for 6 months in the city, everyone's been kind of going, I don't get it. What is it? What is this thing that's happening around the city? So it's been really, really good fun. And then, of course, no, we don't look at the back of the classifieds anymore, do we? I mean, we hardly get a paper. We just pick up our phone and we do these things. But there's something, it's kind of like, that's the thing that the Quiet Little Voices would do, that, they would put something in the back of the newspaper. The secret code messages, like, they're in a war or something, there's coded messages. So we, just playing with that old fashioned idea of, wanted or lost, or an advert for a strange potion or lotion or whatever. And so I've been dropping those in the paper every week, not said anything. Very few people have noticed them even. I've been buying the paper and cutting them out and keeping them. And it's just like, I love the fact, it's almost like a print, like an edition of 8 different prints, right? That were free. Well, in the back of the paper. But how many, I bet no one's got a full set. I'll be really, really chuffed if someone actually found the first one, worked out what it was, and then collected all the rest, because that they've got to be delving deep in order to try and relate it to what's happening. And some of the things in those adverts you won't get yet, but when you walk into the show, it will make sense. So, even now there are some mysterious parts of those adverts that will make sense when people come inside. But it's like that rabbit hole thing. It was just really nice to do something which is kind of subversive and crazy. The newspaper didn't know at all, so they went in on it. And then when we told them afterwards, they were like, "What? We had no idea!" And it was just, it was really cool.
And you did have your was it an appeal for, what was it, for 10,000 cans in there? Was that one?
Yeah. Well, that was almost a real appeal, because I did need a huge number of cans for one aspect of the installation. And every time I go to my studio, outside the studio, from floor to ceiling, a black sack full of cans, and then those people that know me are just leaving them outside my house, and it's just right. My van is full of cans, and they're just everywhere you go. I've got enough now, please, no one drop off anymore. We've got plenty. But I reckon we're close to 10,000, I think. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to follow you, just listen to the rattle of cans.
Yeah. Every time I open the van door, 4 cans fall out onto the floor, and I pick them up and chuck them back in again.
And it looks like tickets are going really well for it.
Really. I mean, it's such an unknown for me. It's one thing to release 100 prints and sell those, or to release a small edition of t-shirts. But we want to try and get as many people through the door. We're only open for a short period of time, sort of 16 days. So we really wanted to make the most of it. There's no opportunity to extend. That's it. It's ephemeral, And so we released the tickets, and crossed our fingers and hoped that I wasn't going to be stood in the building on my own for days on end with the odd person wandering through. But we're 70% down. We've 70% gone on all the tickets now, which is pretty fantastic. I think we've got a capacity of about 8,000 over the 16 days. So to be at 70% before we've even opened is, we're really, really grateful. And it's hard, right? It's hard to travel, and people are nervous about traveling. And so we've got all of those aspects to consider. We're working really, really hard to sort of make sure the whole building is COVID safe and compliant. So my builder was taking all the windows out today and then covering them with mesh. We've got fans everywhere. We're creating good airflow because, I know we're all desperate to go and see cultural events, but the last thing I want is to be the source of something that happens. So it's ticking all the boxes and doing it properly, that's for sure.
And is there any thought to, and I almost hesitate to ask, actually,
what comes next? Is that what you're going to ask?
No, I was just thinking, all I was thinking was, like, because, you want to think about, you're focused on the opening and managing it as you go through, but any thoughts as to, archiving any of the pieces, or will you sell them off? Is it, like a street art museum might, any thought as to that in terms of preserving, because it's ephemeral, like you said, but or is it's there and it's gone?
So when I first started, I got a local filmmaker and so I commissioned him to follow me for the 5 months we were going to produce the show, so that I had a document of that kind of, because it's been secret and I've not been posting about it, just to document everything, the building of the sculptures, the paintings, the, you know, tidying up, clearing up and all that sort of thing. So Paul Thing now has been following me for 18 months and has recorded those highs and lows. So we've got a documentary on the cards and a full walkthrough film. We're also photographers have been working on the whole project as well. So the idea is that we'll put a book together. So as far as a legacy goes, we've definitely got that. I'm actually working with the University of Portsmouth, who are really keen to capture it beyond film and photography. So they have been in and created LiDAR scans of the entire building before we started, and are doing the same now. So now funding isn't in place and these things are really, really crazy money, but at least we can capture it in the hope that in the future we can turn it into a VR experience, a proper VR experience, where you can walk around all the sculptures, you can explore them, you can walk into the rooms that maybe the public can't visit now, and delve really, really deeper. The LiDAR scan guys have need a photographer, and so what happens is they scan the video, they LiDAR scan the room, and then a photographer has to take 10,000 photographs, and then these photographs get mapped, kind of stuck to the inside of the LiDAR scan. The technology is way beyond anything I understand, but you know, how cool would it be if we can get the funding in place? Now we've got these captures to open this out into something that you could forever explore as a resource, and make use of. So yeah, the building's only open, you know, only there for 16 days. You know, there's work hung in there that will get sold. There are sculptures. I'd love to tour some of them. I'd love to sort of talk to, you know, museums or, you know, interesting spaces that it might work with, because I think it would be really interesting to take them out of the environment that I created them in, and see how they would work in a different space, or maybe adjust them and alter them according to the space that they're moved to. So I'd be really fascinated to see how it moves forwards, definitely.
So many different options there, and I mean, the documentary will be, you know, really kind of looking forward to that. Yeah, even before it's.
Yeah, there's definitely tears and tantrums. Yeah.
But the idea of the VR thing as well, because I kind of think, you know, for instance, for people who maybe can't get around as much as other people as well, it makes it like super accessible as well, you know. So that's
I mean, it's on the second floor, so we, you know, and there was no way with such a derelict building that we were able to provide wheelchair access. We're trying where we can to provide access for people with you know, with difficulties, but that, you know, yeah, so to be able to provide something, and people that can't travel at the moment, you know, there's a big fan base in America, no one else, you know, no one's coming over here, and everyone's kind of like, oh look, we can't come, you know, we're really fed up, or, you know, even just, you know, the Londonites who are afraid to leave the bubble of the M25, you know, it's just you know it you know, it just having something that we can create and people can experience. You know, at one point we didn't think we were going to be able to open to the public at all, and we were going to do a closed ghost exhibition, and it was supposed to be the film and the book. I'm kind of pleased we didn't do that, because Snick beat me to it by a month. Did you see the VR installation? I was just like, I'm so glad I didn't go that route, because I would have opened 4 weeks after them, and I would just been like a really naff second place. So they smashed it, which is great. But I'm kind of pleased we were able to open to the public now.
And when we spoke last year as well, you know, one big thing that came across was the importance of like connecting with the community, and I saw that, you know, you doing the artist led tours, you know, specifically for kind of aspiring artists or artists who are kind of just starting out and want to learn more about the craft and the process, and just to kind of get to connect in that way. So was that always a kind of big consideration for you?
Yeah, definitely. So so I'm doing those. I'm doing artist-led talks. Yeah, for you know, for anybody who just wants to push on their career and wants to, you know, it's like you want to chat to people and pick their brains and find out how they did things and who they work with and blah blah blah. So we've got that going. I've allocated 1,000 tickets which go to people in the community that wouldn't normally walk into a museum or a gallery to have that sort of cultural experience. There are 1,000 free tickets that we've been working with sort of schools and organisations and groups to get them in. And actually last night, for the very first time, I let people into the space. So we had 40 teachers. And so we've been putting an education pack together. Initially, it was part of our bid for the Arts Council. And then when we didn't get the Arts Council bid, it was just like, actually, this is still really valuable. This is still really, really good. So we had 40 artists come in, 40 teachers come in yesterday for the first time. So they were like my guinea pigs wandering around the space, and they were all kind of wandering around and looking. And then we put together an education pack for them across from sort of Key Stage 1 to Key Stage 5 with activities and things related to the show, because, you know, I come from my teaching background. I still, you know, it's still really important to me that, you know, I want at the end of this exhibition 2 or 3 kids to walk out and go, I can do this. I could be an artist. You know, that's his job. You know, I want a job like that. I want to be able to do that. And if I can do that by the end of the show, then that's, you know, boom, that's a big tick, and the job is done. So yeah, it's been important to get all of those aspects into the show, as well as, you know, normal sort of ticket paying punters or gallery goers that would you know, be hunting out for it anyway.
That's fantastic. Fair play to you. And will you be doing any, and I was just wondering to myself earlier on, will you know, is there a little nook or cranny in there where you can just kind of watch people's reactions to certain aspects of it? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, in a traditional gallery show, the artist is there in the opening night, and then they're often not there for the rest of the month the show is on. It is literally a 5-minute cycle ride from my house. So, you know, I'm really, really lucky in that aspect. And I'm blowed if I'm going to spend 18 months working on something and not watch every single reaction from every single 8 of those 8,000 people as they walk through the door, because that's what I'm doing it, right? I'm doing it because I want to spark people, and I want to see that spark. I want to see how they react. So yeah, I might be curled up asleep. I don't know how I'm going to get to the opening day, let alone the closing day. So you might have to give me a nudge, but I am planning to be there for the entire length of the show. Yeah.
Fair play, fair play. Well, very much looking forward to viewing it remotely. You know, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, and yeah, good luck with it all.
Brilliant. Thanks for chatting.
Always a pleasure.